welcome to my weekly Self-Important Magic the Gathering show. This is the final Transformers one, unless I decide to do Grimlock, but like he's not going to be his own thing. That's a silver bordered one that does stuff with vehicles and dinosaurs. Actually, you might see him in a typo week, now that I think about it. Because I could make two of them, one for vehicles and one for dinosaur typo. I probably won't, but it's there. Anyway, we're starting here with Soundwave, who is in fact superior. Superior in every way to Blaster, at least, and most other. Oh, his alternate form is a monk. That is, like, he's got this bandana. That is so weird. This is what he looks like normally. They kinda sorta inverted his colors. And then let's look at the backside just to get the picture. Yeah, like, I don't know what it is. It almost looks exactly the same as Blaster, but I like it better. Anyway, for 1 and Esper, we have Soundwave Sonic Spy, who is a 5/4. And then he is more expensive to cast his backside. That is a thing I've noted is rarity. It's only 1 more expensive, but still. Whenever 1 or more creature tokens you control deal combat damage to a player, exile target instant or sorcery card with mana value equal to the damage dealt from... I feel like I could say that sentence better. Whenever 1 or more creature tokens you control deal combat damage to a player, I'm going to pause right there just to let that have its moment. So that's creature tokens we control dealing combat damage to players. Exile target instant or sorcery card from their graveyard whose mana value is exactly equal to the damage dealt by the token creature. So that's important. I'm saying it such a different way just to make sure it's understood, because I started getting confused. So then we copy it. Then we can cast the copy without paying its mana cost. If we do, we convert Soundwave. And of course, convert is just the exact same as transform. It's just the proprietary word for the Transformers. Transformers convert. That's silly every time I say it. Especially in this show. In the show, they said, Autobots transform and roll out. Anyway, so the backside is Soundwave, Superior Captain. Whenever you cast a spell with an odd mana value, we convert Soundwave. If we do, we create Ravage, a legendary 3/3 black robot artifact creature token with Menace and Death Touch. Ravage is... I think... Like, I always assumed he was some kind of dog, but he could be a jackal. Or even a panther. I'm not 100% sure what he is. Or, whenever you cast a spell with an even mana value, convert Soundwave. If you do, we create Laserbeak, who is, at least I know that's some kind of bird. A legendary 2/2 blue robot artifact creature token with flying and hexproof. Because that's the one that he used to spy. I wish we could make Rumble and Rampage, but it'd be funny because those two I don't think would have the exact same color identity as Soundwave, because Soundwave here is Esper, but Rumble and Rampage I do feel would both be Rakdos. And I guess I'll go through these other cards once since it's a new episode. We have True Conviction, which has a big single pip ask for a 3-color deck, but its creatures we control have double strike and lifelink. And I know it's Autobots on the picture, but I make exception for non-creature permanents and spells having transformers that aren't of the correct the correct alignment for the commander. But that's Cup, Hot Rod, and Cliff Jumper. Then we have this island, that island. This isn't going to be particularly... Oh, but because it's a 3-color deck, we only have 3. So it was Edge of Eternities, this like Vector Graphic Secret Lair, and the Transformer Secret Lair. And I think this is the only one that's different because we did this Brothers War instead of Edge of Eternities, because I don't... we go to all printings, because we go to this one and like... I guess I can see that it's some kind of space station now, so I guess I'll just stay consistent. And then we have Blitzwing. That makes a target opponent lose life equal to the amount of life they lost this turn. And then we convert Blitzwing if nobody lost life. Then we have the Devastator card, which is garbage that I'm not even going to read. Over here in the draw section, we have Cyclonus, who connives when he deals combat damage to a player. And then if his power is 5 or greater from conniving, he turns into this 5/5, who gives us additional beginning phases. We're not as concerned about this with this deck. These are just allied creatures. Starscream introduces the Monarch into the game. At least his backside will. And then whenever we draw a card, if we're the Monarch, one of our opponents will lose 2 life. And then with the Aether Spark still looks like the Matrix of Leadership to me. 17 dual lands. We have the non-legendary Megatron. We have our ramp section. I took Felbar Stone out of a lot of my 2-color decks, but I think the 3-color deck might need it. We'll see where we are later. We also have the Signets and the Talismans. And then we have the exact single target removal you expect to see. Dramatic Reversal, Fabricate. And then the Mass Disruption, where I remember Curse of the Swine exists, which does feel like a thing that would happen in the cartoon. Then we have 11 non-basic, non-dual lands, like there's Cybertron in here. We have the Academy Ruins, which I am going to change that to... the Decepticons had human collaborators, but Lara Croft wouldn't be one of them, but we're going to do this one. Let's see, then we have the Arcane Sanctum. Yeah, nothing out of the ordinary here. Mech Hanger is funny to put in here because it helps us cast the backside of our Transformers, because the backside is a vehicle. So we're probably going to do this. So this is Esper tokens, because while Soundwave makes his own tokens, the funny thing is that we're not going to want Anointed Procession, because he makes legendary tokens, so making more of them completely pointless. So we're going to want other things that make tokens, just so we can convert Soundwave easier. I'm not going to be too concerned about an even mix of even and on mana value spells. That's just a variable to let you know which token you can make. So we are going to put out the Idol of Oblivion, because that lets us draw a card if we created a token. And we'll do this one. And we're going to go to creature types and see that we only have 4 creatures, and we can have up to 6 because of the 2 different ones that Soundwave can make, but we're going to want to make more. We could put in Divine Visitation to make angels instead, but I don't think I'm going to go that way. And we're also not going to put, we're not going to put in, like I said, Anointed Procession, even though I've basically said in like some other video somewhere that I was retiring that card because there are so many token doublers, even in just white, that aren't do nothing by themselves enchantments. That's still the word that I go to when I'm talking about them. I'm just going to hit up EDH Rec out of curiosity. See what kind of creatures they want. Solemn Simulacrum, we only have 9 basics. Esper Sentinel, yeah, we can Ristic Buddy. We'll do this version. Marnius Caligar. Whenever one or more tokens enter the battlefield under your control, draw a card. I understand. And then he has an overpriced ability to create some warrior creature tokens. Does he have a version that is not foil? Yes, he does. That looks like it's not foil. Nope, that's foil. How about this? Can we unfoil? Nope. So 40k. I guess it's a different type of foiling. No idea. But I do like, even though he costs 5, he gives us a token when we make, he draws us a card when he makes tokens. Creature tokens we control have flying and vigilance. I mean, one of Laserbeak already has flying, but he doesn't have vigilance, so that's good. Creature token we control, draw a card. Like, we could just put in stuff that says whenever a token or whenever a creature deals damage, draw a card. But I do like this idea that because Soundwave is a captain, he doesn't do his own attacking. So he's the superior captain is sending in his minions. Adeline gives us warriors when we attack. I know the Hero of Light is a good guy, but they also made him kind of look like a villain, if we're being honest. Let's see. And what's funny is that, like, with these other things we could put in our token doublers, but I'm not going to bother. What does this guy say? Nope, that's milling. Whenever one or more tokens enter the battlefield under your opponent's control, we get a tapped copy of it. And then whenever one or more tokens enter the battlefield under control, each opponent loses a life when we gain a life. I do like the also getting tokens. I'm not going to do things like the Mirkwood bats, just to where we always hit our opponents when we make tokens. I just like the idea of also getting tokens when our opponents get tokens. And honestly, Kimball Profiteering Mayor sounds like a guy that helped the Decepticons, if we're being quite honest. I'm just hitting this because it goes like this. And oh, we get blue drakes for casting instants or sorceries, and our commander steals. That's a got a message on Discord. Not going to worry about it right now. And our commander steals instants and sorceries. So, I like this because this means we don't have to worry about having our own instants and sorceries. Thalise, Reverent Medium. At the beginning of each end step, we get some spirits equal to the number of spirits we created. The cyber controller, that, yeah, I can see where they'd want us to mill our opponents so they'd have more instants and sorceries in their discard pile for us to steal. Okay, Company Commander isn't the first part where it only makes so many tokens once, but when this thing attacks, all of our stuff gets Death Touch until end of turn is nice. And it is funny how I've stopped ignoring this. It's mostly funny to me how I've stopped ignoring 40k as much as I used to. Securitron Squadron. Whenever a creature token enters the battlefield under control, it gets a +1/+1 counter. I'm just replying to a message. Someone who is interested in Magic but doesn't play it asked me what the legend rule was, so I explained it to them. Like, this isn't super necessary, but I do like it. So at least for now it's going in the deck. It might come out later. We're not doing any of this stuff. We're not doing this. Oh, Urza Chief Artificer. That jerk would work for the Decepticons, wouldn't he? Affinity for artifact creatures. Oh yeah, and he makes constructs. Oh, and they also gives our artifact creatures menace. Yeah. Like, well, he would work for the Decepticons, then realize they were up to no good, and then get super butthurt, and he wouldn't really be able to work with the Autobots because they'd realize he's just this big old jerk face. So, like, he would separately try to destroy the Decepticons. Baleful Strix, I understand. Corpse Knight? Nope. Illustrious Wonderglyph. Oh, yeah, it's expensive, but it does create us gnome artifact creatures. And then makes our artifact creatures stronger if we have the City's Blessing. I'm fine with that. And that was the end of their recommendations. I believe they were good, well, at least for creatures. Let's hit this again to see if we get anything new. So we got that. Don't care, don't care, don't care, don't care. Nope. No, no, no. Oh yeah, well, once again, it's because we're stealing other people's instants and sorceries. I get it. And actually, I really do like this guy's picture for it. Space Marine Devastator. Ah, nah. Whirler Rogue. No. Corpse Knight again. Temet Vizier of Naktamun. It can make our one of our creature tokens unblockable, and he by himself is pretty cheap. What is this? Amonkhet tokens. It doesn't have... Oh, it's because he has Embalm, huh? I understand. Alela, Artful Provocateur. Oh, whenever you cast an artifact or enchantment spell. Yeah. And I also feel that she does have... She's probably like the exact same kind of person Soundwave is. Chrome Sea Shark, we're not doing that. Enduring Curiosity. See, this is any creature. And then also, when it dies, it can come back once. Vanguard Suppressor. A lot of 40k stuff. Oh, when it itself deals damage, we draw a card. Zelix. Okay. And then I'm going to hit search again. Basically until they stop giving me new stuff. Oh, Dalek Squadron. I get it. I understand. And it... Oh, because it has Myriad. Yeah. Sure, we'll have a Dalek Squadron. Ultramarines Honor Guard. Other creatures get +1/+1. I'm going to hit it one more time. We're going to see a lot of the same stuff. And nothing new that time. But that was all very interesting. We have 21 creatures. Like, there's probably more stuff we could put in this deck. But that's good for that. I liked that. Let's go to artifacts. I understand the Skull Clamp because a lot of while Soundwave himself makes things that are a 3/3 and a 2/2. We have other things that make smaller things somewhere. Though it would be an eventual non-bow when the things that make them bigger are in play. But I understand. No. I'm gonna dodge my normal protection suite for once. Water crystal. Yeah, I understand the desire to mill your opponent so they have more instants for you to steal, but that's not the way I'm gonna roll. Thopter Spy Network does sound like a thing that that Soundwave would have. I like how my favorite border is the least expensive version, so we are going to put that in here. Intangible Virtues to give our tokens bigger. Don't care. Corticani, no. No, and no on these two. Bitter Blossom, I understand the desire to put that in, and like the Dread Horde invasion. Oh, but Black Market Connections, I like this because I also feel like Soundwave would have those. But also, since it can make us treasures and draw us cards, because what's funny is that the creature, least likely thing we would do. But that's just a solid. And hey, look, Phyrexian Arena isn't on the list. That's mildly interesting. That normally That's normally in every blacklist. Just because it's like, just draw an extra card to lose a life. Don't worry about it. Planeswalkers? Oh, because the -2 can double our token creation. I'm really not worried about that. Let's check instants and sorceries since we're like here. Reckoning. Destroy all non-token creatures. I understand the desire. And then instants. Oh, Ink Shield. Yes. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to you this turn. And then for each damage that would be prevented this way, you get an Inkling. That is... and then we'll do this one that has... I think that is supposed to be... oh, I forget his name, but he's Mr. Commander. One of the guys who started the format. Sheldon Minery, I think his name was. I'm just bad with names. All apologies. But I've seen him on stuff. He seemed like a cool guy. So now we're at 93 or 97 already, and we have 21 creatures. We have quite a few ways of making more, but there are 2 more that I want. Because they amuse me. The Cybermen. Non-legendary artifact creatures we control have Myriad, and then artifact creatures we control have Afflict. That's not combat damage, but that's still like, hey, you're in my way. I also like how it's a 2/2, so blocking it actually makes you take 1 more damage. Let's... How many thing... So, one, if we're that late in the game, the this Megatron and the Cybermen Squadron just really wreck someone's house. Oh, this makes non-legendary artifacts. Those are not artifacts. Those are not artifact creatures. This makes artifact creatures. Those are birds. Those are not artifact creatures. The Daleks do... oh wow, they would have double Myriad. These are artifact creatures. Those are... This thing can theoretically make artifact creatures. We just have to pay extra for it. And, yep, okay. Yeah, so Cybermen Squadron gets to go in. And also, it itself is a non-legendary artifact creature, so that's... and then... So we have... I'm counting the number of artifacts we have because there's always Mycosynth Golem to... because we are at 99. So we have 1, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19... 20, 21, 22, 23, 25, I think. I might have accidentally lost my place and started over. So yeah, and we're going to go through this really quick to make sure all the versions are the ones I want, which is funny because last episode I got tired of doing that, but I'm at a different part of my cognitive ability today, so I'm ready to play favorites. And I think everybody else was fine. Do I have a mind vessel in here? No. Interesting. Nope, there's the mind stone. Not mind vessel. Okay, so that's this one. I like that we leaned on EDH rec, but like just didn't blindly pick things. Because I do want to say nice things about EDH rec, because I know there's a lot of bad things you can say about it. But that's like user error and the user being like just lazy. But no, I think we made something. I'm not going to say interesting, but I think we made something worthwhile here. Let's go. Whoops. Let's go to categories and make sure everything has a proper spot and doesn't just say creature, or instant here. Yeah, oh, we did good. We did good. So we're done with Soundwave. Thank you, Soundwave. You are one of my favorite Transformers. Which is a really weird double standard, because like I said, I don't like Blaster. I think it's Soundwave's voice, and he's just cooler. And Blaster tries too hard to be cool. Now we have Megatron, the Tyrant. And I get, again, I think I said this before, this must be an alternate universe where the Autobots are the bad guys and the Decepticons are the good guys. So we have 3 in Mardu. I find it mildly interesting that Megatron the Tyrant is Mardu. Not that bad guys can't be Mardu, it's just that the bad guys who are Mardu are honestly typically kind of interesting, because there's also Caesar from Fallout. Anyway, so it's 3 in Mardu for a 7/5 robot. He's a 7/5 because he has that big cannon on his arm. Just saying. And his more than meets the eye is cheaper. It is only 1 in a Mardu. Your opponents can't cast spells during combat. That's handy. That means that they do not get to do surprise combat tricks. Makes you wonder why he loses. At the beginning of your post-combat main phase, you may convert Megatron. Sorry. If you do, get 1 colorless mana for each 1 life your opponents have lost this turn. Okay, so you get main phase 2 colorless mana. I think that is cool. So we can also just start as... so this is the flying version of Megatron, though he still looks like a tank. Let's look at his other form. So we got this Megatron, which is funny because this is from the cartoon, where he literally just turned into a gun that Starscream would shoot. And while I liked the toy, this was always the dumbest thing in the world. But, so it was an improvement when they changed him to transforming into a tank. But anyway, on his backside, living metal, of course. That means he's an artifact he's an artifact creature during our turns, but merely an artifact on our opponent's turns. Whenever Megatron attacks, you may sacrifice another artifact. So we got some sacrificing to do. When you do, Megatron deals... oh, he's only a 4/5 on this side, by the way, which is mildly interesting. That's the same toughness, but for some reason he is almost only half as strong. When you do, Megatron deals damage equal to the sacrifice artifact's mana value to target creature. So that's interesting. That's like putting thoughts in my head. If excess damage would be dealt to that creature this way, instead that damage is dealt to that creature's controller and you convert Megatron. It's like there is a card I want to put in this deck that actually technically isn't that good for this, but it's still, because like you don't want to sacrifice tokens because they don't have a mana value. But if sacrificing your tokens triggers other things, that's another story, and that you don't really care about how much. Oh, then we can also give Megatron Death Touch. Anyway, I was just thinking of stuff. Then we have True Conviction, which even though it has Autobots on it, I do feel like True Conviction is 1,000,000,000% something Megatron has. He's not, like, when you get through the expanded lore of why he's doing stuff that he's doing, he is a true believer in his own cause. And I do have a mild bit of respect for that. Even if he's, a tyrant. So we have our basics, Transformer Secret Lair, Unfinity, and Edge of Eternities. It's funny, I didn't think that this was a swamp for a second, just because of all the, like, I mean, it's an unpleasant green, I guess, but it just threw me off. But swamps can have green. That's, there's tree stuff in there. So yeah, and then Blitzwing again, the stupid Devastator card that I don't think is good. Flame War is in here. Flame War from last week. I like Flame War. Also sacrifices artifacts, so it's not synergy, but two things that want to do the same thing is very important. Then we have Starscream that introduces the Monarch, the Aether Spark. It's so funny that this exists, because I'm like, it's the Matrix of Leadership. But it's also a generically good card. Our 17 duels, our 11 non-duels, non-basics, our Mass Disruption, which is mostly destroying other people's artifacts, our two finishers, which is the non-legendary Megatron, and also Slicer Hired Muscle. I don't really think this guy is a finisher, but like this is it puts him somewhere. Then we got our ramp over there, and then our single target removal, which is like just a non-surprising set of things. So what else? We're putting in weapons manufacturing, even though it's tokens that don't have a mana value, but they're tokens that when you sacrifice them, they do 2 damage to any target. And then I don't have a tokens section yet. Yeah. Whenever a non-token artifact you control enters, you get a munitions token with, when this token leaves, it deals 2 damage to any target. And then we'll do this super space version. Whoops. I didn't need to add another one. So we got that. Oh, you probably didn't heard it, but man, I snapped my neck. I've got to answer this thing. There we go. Someone was asking more information on the Legends rule. And I like to be helpful. Also, they're my friend, so there you go. So now we go into card search. Oh, wait, no, we're going to go here to type. We do have 5 creatures, so 15-ish or more. We also, we can have other things that make artifact creature tokens. I do kind of want to make treasures, though that really doesn't do anything. So let's just hit up EDH Rec. Let's go to artifacts. I'm still not going to worry about these things. These things. Oh, Spine of Ishsa, yes. Oh, that should have gone in Flame Wars deck. Didn't think about that. The Esper Sentinel, the Foundry Spectre. Whenever this or a commander we control attacks alone, we get an artifact card from our graveyard to the battlefield. We do want to attack with our commander. Oh, and the Metal Colossus, because it's a big old 11. Wormhole Engine, because it dies into stuff. Meteor Golem. Well, a Meteor Golem's just good. Mirror Retriever. Phyrexian Triniform. Triplicate Titan. What are you? Oh, the Cryptek is interesting. Choose another target artifact creature we control, so we can't steal stuff. When that creature dies, this turn return to the battlefield tapped under your control. Yes, that's very good. The Skitterbeam Battalion can make copies of itself if you cast it. I'm fine with that. I think the copies get the mana value. Polar to Phyrexias, just gross. Destroyer's Familiar, sure, why not? Oh, I forgot about that in the other decks, but that's fine. The Golem, of course. And then creatures. This gives our artifacts in our graveyards an earth. Oh, Goblin Welder, yeah, just to get our stuff back. I'm going to go over here because I know I missed one. Oh, graveyard. Oh, hand. Oh, dies. Oh, artifact. Junk Diver, we missed that one. And the Workshop Assistant. There we go. So now we're at 22 creatures. We're also at 96 things. Sorry, I got lost in my own head. So that was EDH Trek for Art. Duretti's going to appear here, but we're pretending that he wouldn't work with the Black Market Connections and Phyrexian Arena. Oh, Pia's Revolution. We could reskin this as Megatron's Revolution. Whenever a non-token artifact is put into your graveyard from the battlefield, return that card to your hand unless target opponent has P of Revolution, deal 3 damage to him or her. And that puts us at 99. I like that. Just kind of double checking to make sure nothing got put into a weird this isn't, we're going to put this with over here because it says recursion, but it's only recurring itself, and I don't consider that recursion. Recursion is recurring other things. But really quick, before I finish off this deck, let's go to Get Wrecked. Like, it's a 7 mana thing. Excuse me. But it goes back to your hand. So let's look for something we would not want to have. Super State is right there in the exact same mana value. But we also have 25 pieces of ramp. And I think Setzer Wandering Gambler is leaving this deck. He's also a good guy, so it's kind of weird. Although Knuckles is in here, but he's kind of an in-between, because he's generally good, but he's dumb as a brick and can work for the bad guys. And let's be honest, Setzer needs to flip a coin. I think that's where I was going to go with that. So there we go. So just one more for this one. I don't know what I want it to be. Let's go back to this. Maybe one more creature, maybe something. Let's go back to EDH Rec. No, no. Wake the Past is an interesting idea. Feldon of the Third Path is actually interesting because it's a token that's a copy. Though the thing is that I'm not. It all depends on if that token that's a copy also has the the mana value. And we also just Ruinous Ultimatum. Let's just Ruinous Ultimatum. Like, it's a big pip ask, but don't care. So that's Rise Up. Apparently, like, I didn't know that that was a thing that Megatron said, because I do not remember it from the cartoon. But I guess he is like this tyrannical revolutionary type. Anyway, so now we got Ultra Bro. Shows you what I think of Ultra Magnus, if that was the best thing I could come up with for his deck name. So, Ultra Magnus, Tactician. 4 Enea for 7/7. That is only 2 Enea for the backside. He has Ward 2. And whenever Ultra Magnus attacks, you may put an artifact creature card from your hand onto the battlefield, tapped and attacking. If you do, convert... Oh, wow, that is just a free thing that we get. We convert Ultra Magnus at the end of combat. Because on the other side, he's only a 4/7. Living Metal and Haste, so that's cool. Whenever Ultra Magnus attacks, attacking creatures you control gain indestructible until end of turn. Jeez, that's cool as heck. If those creatures have total power 8 or greater, we can turn Ultra Magnus over. So it is worth it to play it for 5 because it has haste, even though it's only a 4/7. But that means you only need 4 more power to give your attacking creatures indestructible. That is cool as heck. I'm going to double check. After this video, I'm going to definitely go into a deeper dive with this person on it, because it requires me to pull up cards. They're looking for exceptions to the Legend rule, which there's like at least 3. A 4th if we're dealing with creature tokens. But no, okay, so Ultra Magnus, I like him a lot. This is some attack the heck out of your opponent's Nea stuff. True Conviction again. Blaster the DJ, which is cool because the modular is nice. Prowl is sitting over here. The card grader, good. The non-legendary Optimus Prime. The exact same lands that you've seen already. Although, yeah. I do like those. And then our Mass Disruption section. Although I do see... Oh no, Pest Station is here. It's just that this version with the Prosperity Times makes it look weird. Our pieces of ramp. You know, I'm going to change this Nature's Lore to the Doctor Who one. Because it has some weird tech stuff going on. Well, it's timey-wimey stuff. Oh, there's only 11 here because we have 18 duels instead. That's mildly interesting. And then 11 pieces of removal right there. So we want to go in on artifact creatures. Because oh wow, you can play Optimus Prime for free. You can play Optimus Prime for free on well, depending on the state of your ramp. But without ramping on turn 6, you can just play this 11 mana value thing. That's some wild stuff. So we want artifact creatures. We're going to do Mycosynth Golem again, but just so I remember to change the way he looks. So we're just going to hit up EDH Rec because this is an EDH Rec week. Other artifacts creatures you control have haste. Whenever one or more artifact creatures you control attack, this deals X damage to any target, and we scry X, where that's the number of tapped artifacts. It doesn't have to be our creatures. So that's cool. Alibou here could have gone in Megatron, but that just wasn't where we're going. We'll do Foundry Inspector because we want to make our stuff cheaper. We're not doing Bright still because that is secretly Megatron. The Meteor Golem. Ristic Buddy. The Cybermen Squadron. I'll think about that one, but we do the Great Henge. Yes, we want the Great Henge. Joyra's Familiar. I don't think we're going to do that this time. Cityscape Lover. Well, Cityscape Lover wants to be tapped. Bosch would have been a good thing, would have been a sympathetic thing for Megatron's deck. I don't think we need that one this time. We don't need that one this time. There it is. The Voyager Quick Wielder. You can sometimes tell that a commander's dex hasn't been updated, like when stuff like this isn't in the recommended. Creatures? Was I already in this section? I might skip the Cyberman Squadron this time. The Cybermen Squadron, but the Cyberman Patrol might still make it in here. Let's go to enchantments just out of curiosity. Oh, Annie joins up is good, and also that reminds me of other things. When Annie join up enters the battlefield, it does 5 damage to a target creature or planeswalker and opponent controls, whatever. If a triggered ability of a legendary creature you control triggers, it triggers an additional time, which means we get to put two free things into play. We want Roaming Throne. It's also an artifact creature. And Wolfgar, even though he's not an artifact creature, but that's attacking additional triggers. That's all very good because this is an attack trigger. This is also an attack trigger, but this doesn't benefit from being doubled. Let's go to Tide. We're at 14 creatures. So now we just kind of want to have some sweet artifact creatures. Like to at least 6, but 11. You know what? 11. We want 11. So we go T artifact creature. Let's sort by mana value because, you know, if we ain't cheating, MV greater than or equal to 10. Like we did see some of these before. This has an upkeep. So let's Metalwork Colossus. Let's Ancient Stone Idol. Let's Rust Goliath. It has Reach and Trample. Vigilance if it's white. Life, nope. First Strike if it's red, and Trample if it's green. I was just reading off the relevant ones. How about Woodcaller? Automaton. When it enters the battlefield, if you cast it. So I'm ignoring stuff that says if you cast it. We also don't want like too much of this stuff because it might glut our hand. 9. Bygone Colossus. That's fine. Colossus Asardi doesn't untap. Oh, Diamond Weapon. That's a Phyrexian, so we're not bothering with that. This is exactly this, but is the pre-Phyrexian form, I guess. No, they're completely unrelated. They're just like two different things having the exact same idea. Because otherwise this would look more like this, I think. Anyway, we're going down to mana value 8. Bosch is still mildly interesting. This thing has Defender. The Unstoppable Juggernaut messes with our powers and toughnesses. This needs to be cast. This would like to be cast. I do like, well, it doesn't need to be, but I do like how it completely, if you pay for all 8 mana with treasure, you get all 8 of your treasure back. Platinum Empyrean. Oh, this is just free mana. This is an 8/8 with Trample. We're probably not... You know what? No. I do want this, because it has Ward 4. We're not going to put in everything we see. What are we at? We're at 21 creatures. How many cheap things? Okay, we do have a number of cheap things, comparatively. We are at 93. I do want 4 more creatures. Let's go down to mana value 7. We have the Accomplished Automaton. You know what? No, I was right the first time, because we are putting in a lot of non-legendary artifact creatures. But also, the Cyber Man Patrol, because that Afflict is sweet. Because either it's more damage than they would have taken otherwise, or it's a consolation prize if the thing has, you know, greater than 3 power. And we are at 23 creatures. Technically, I only need 1 more to be at 25. Double checking something. Yes, it's artifact creatures specifically that he puts into play. We have the Platinum Empyrean, but we're not doing the Platinum Angel. We're going down to 6, but I think the Wandering... Actually, I just realized... Nope. Was it in 10? No, it was in 8. That this, the Walking Skyscraper, is actually a funny reference. If you've ever seen the movie Big, when the character that Tom Hanks plays goes into like a toy creation office building, they're thinking of making a transformer that is just a building. And Tom Hanks' character is like, this is dumb as heck. One, it barely transformed. Though I really felt like that was a commentary, because that was a thing that could happen. Like, there were some just awful, barely transforming Transformers out there. But that's that, and we are at 96. What kind of regular artifacts? Mostly going to be creatures again. I kind of forgot that. I could put in like the Crypto Thrall and stuff like that, but I am not going to. Oh, the Doors of Durin. Whenever you attack Scry 2, then you may reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature card, you can put into the battlefield tapped and attacking. Until your next turn, it gates Trample, and if you control a dwarf... Trample if you control a dwarf, and Extra if you control an elf. That part don't matter. That still potentially... That still gives us a, like, 1-ish in 24 chance of getting a free creature. 1 in 24? That gives us a 24 in 98. You know, whatever, minus whatever else is going on, you know, it gives us a chance of getting us free creatures, a greater than 0. Even if we don't have a single dwarf or elf in this deck. Let's go to enchantments. Again, I just realized. Oh, Pia's Revolution is still good. And just out of curiosity, what Planeswalkers? Yeah, we'll do Duretti. Which also reminds me that we would want Goblin Molder, so that'll be the last one. Gobwell. So, hey, look, 25 creatures. Oh, hey, look, Berserk's over there. I forgot that went into the deck. So let's go by categories. You know, see, some things. Bygone Colossus, I'm going to put in finisher, even though it's not really strong enough to be a finisher, and neither is Walking Skyscraper. We're putting the Diamond Weapon in protection because it doesn't take combat damage, so it makes it a great blocker. It also has reach, that makes it a great blocker, along with the Platinum Empyrean, because it says our life total can't change. Which is funny, because we do have things in here that can theoretically gain life, and those will not work because that's changing our life total. But still, yep, that's Ultra Bro. So last, we have Roll Out with Optimus Prime. We're just going to look and show that we have all the usual suspects in here. I don't think there is anything surprising. I don't have Curse of Swine in here, but I could put it in here if I wanted to, because I do have a preference for Aether Spout, Settle the Wreckage, and Aetherize, just to specifically punish the people that attack me. Oh, Curse of the Swan is actually over here. I just didn't move it. Bing. So what does this just wicked Optimus Prime want? So he casts for 3 in Jeskai. That makes me think he wants the Spell Sling, but that's just because of the colors. And is 1 cheaper for more than meets the eye. He is not as physically strong as his brother. At the beginning of each. Oh, I love it when it says each. Each instep bolster 1. That means you put a +1/+1 counter on the weakest thing you have. And if you have a bunch of stuff that's tied for weakest, is it lowest? Hold on. Is it lowest power or just least toughness? So I was right when I said weakest. When Optimus Prime dies, I'm glad they put this in it, because I think I've mentioned in other episodes that, like, he dies in the movie, but he comes back later in the show, like after they've added more dumb toys. But when he dies, return to the battlefield converted under its owner's control, which is sweet. So Living Metal, 6/8, so slightly stronger, because there's a 4/8 on the front side. Living Metal, that means it is a creature on our turn, but not when it's not our turn. Has trample, that's always fun. Whenever you attack, bolster 2. We are going to look that to see if it's do it twice. Nope, we're going to have to look at the card inflow. You don't do it twice, you do it twice as much to the same thing. So you pick your thing with the least toughness and it gets 2++1 counters. The chosen creature gains trample until end of turn. When that creature deals combat damage to a player, this turn, convert Optimus Prime back to the front side. So that is neat as heck. So we're probably going to want our good friend the Ozolith to hold on to counters. Whenever a creature you control leaves the battlefield, if it had counters on it, you put those counters here. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if this has counters on it, you can put those counters on a creature. It doesn't have to be a creature you control, so that's mildly interesting. And then, of course, Aether Spark to put more counters on stuff. Just thought I'd point that thing out again. I also like how Optimus Prime can put counters on that on RC without us having to target her with anything. And then also, I believe Jetfire's over here. He likes to have counters on him as well. We don't have DJ in here. DJ works, or not DJ, but Blaster goes with Ultra Bro, but not this one. Goldbug cares about humans, so we are going to put some humans in this deck. And considering our colors, I know what humans. We're not going to put that many, but we're going to put a couple. So we're going to go T human. How many humans can there be in the Jeskai colors? 2,000. Okay, how many humans also do stuff with humans? Goes all the way down to 61. So we're going to go Adeline, Resplendent Cathar, but not Adeline, Resplendent Cathar. It's going to be the Hero of Light, because when we attack, she will make humans. That'll be instant bolster targets, because they'll be 1/1s. I like Eowyn Shield Maiden, but like that's better when our commander, or we're like going all in on humans. This can draw us a card or give us some humans, so that's worth it. If we're the Monarch, we get some humans. And there's like one more. Whenever we draw our second card each turn, we get a human. I don't know how many second cards we'll be drawing, though, but that is definitely, like, all the other ones are a lot more reliable. Although what's funny is that if we're the Monarch, because Optimus Prime don't draw us no cards. But, yeah, so now that's some humans that we can have. Those are just for Goldbug to care about. Does Goldbug draw us cards? That second spell on the front side. Goldbug, in fact, will draw us cards. We didn't see Goldbug at all during this series, but that's because Goldbug is showing up during the Species Typal series. Since he's the only robot he'll be the only robot in a deck full of humans. So let's see what EDH Rec thinks. Let's go to artifacts. artifact spell, Ristic Buddy, artifact spell, flagship is interesting. Oh, Kilo taps to proliferate. Oh, artifact spell. Oh, the Ancient Witness. The Lion Sash is mildly funny. It's also Graveyard Hate. You gotta remember to put that in deck sometimes. What does this do? At the beginning of combat on your turn, put your choice of a +1/+1 counter or 2 charge counters on Deft to other target artifact. And it's other, so you can't charge himself up. Other artifacts you control have hexproof and indestructible. Sure, why not? And it can be... Oh, and it's a flying 5/5 at that point. But then we go back over here, because that was a good point. Artifact spell is permanent. We forgot the colon back here. No, no, no. 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 You know what? Let's put Edgar in here. He can cast artifact spells from our graveyard. They enter tapped, but we can do it. Oh, the Canonist. Also, he's a human. That I forgot about. Any other time that I put humans in a deck, I totally forgot about Edgar. The Ethereum Sculptor. Oh no, already in there. That makes Investigate. There you are. Probably should put the Vidalcan Archmage in here. Because it's not like we're exactly drawing a whole lot of cards otherwise. Okay, what does that put us? That puts us at 97. And oh, hey, we're at 20 creatures. That's good. Oh, how many? Oh, wait, these things need to go places. Okay, that's card draw. And what are you? You're counters, I guess. That's all you do. You're proliferate, but that still goes under counter since I don't feel like making a proliferate section. That's recursion. Hopefully that's a section. There we go. Thank you, Ratchet, for existing to be somewhere where I can put Edgar. We can have 3. I think I know what I want the other 3 to be. Or at least I know what one of the other 3 should be. I guess we do have a more reliable... We have 7 things that allow us to draw more cards. Though one of those is. 2 of those are not exactly reliable. I do feel like we can bolster the Esper Sentinel, though, to theoretically draw more cards. But we're going to go up here. We're going to put in the Dawnsire because that amuses me. And the Rescue Skiff, because why not? And the Sirema, because I just want to be done. So you are also recursion. You are also removal. And you... Well, you are a tutor, but I'm going to put you under protection because I think I saw that as a section. Tutor. Tutor is a section. Oh, protection wasn't a section in this one. No. Well, you do a tutor. And that is this deck, and that brings us to the end of Transformers. For now, I suppose. We still have quite some time. We are only at 1 hour and 20 because that didn't take nearly as long as I thought it would because we used EDH Rec a lot. So, okay, there's actually, so we'll close this. There's actually this. We'll go over all four of these really quick. Only one of them has anything to do with Transformers specifically, but they are 3 Edge of Eternities decks, so we're still in space. So this is like bonus. I don't want this episode to be short. And hey, I had to put these somewhere. So we'll do the Rise Up and Roll Out, and then do the other Edge of Eternities decks. These are the exact only 3, like, not counting, like, if I wanted to do stuff with space stations, and now that we can have vehicles and stuff as their commander. But these are, like, the top 3 commanders from Edge of Eternities that I cared about. So this is Rise Up and Roll Out. It starts with, and we actually have Deep Space 999 instead of saying Commander. That is, of course, a combination of Deep Space 9 and Galaxy Express 999. So when it enters, we get a tap 2/2 colors robot artifact creature token for each multicolored permanent we control. And it also costs full Wooburg. And then it has flying. If we get... I don't think I've said anything about station today. So to station, you tap a creature you control. It doesn't need to have haste to do it on the turn it comes out, because this is an effect of this card, not of the creature. And then you put charge counters on the spacecraft equal to the power of the thing that you tapped. And when it has so many charge counters on it, in this case it needs 12, it gets all the abilities on that line. So this is not a creature until it gets 12 charge counters on it, but then when that happens, it becomes a flying 7/15 with whenever Infinite Guideline station attacks, draw a card for each multicolored permanent you control. And then we have all of our Autobots, and I didn't do the shattered glass treatment. I just wanted to do the regular ones. Then we have Cybertron, which is the 5 basics plus Cybertron. Then we have 7 Deceptic. Okay, so this is something I noticed when I was putting this deck together. The reason RC doesn't have a shattered glass frame is either she's probably not in that storyline, and B, she technically is the odd one out, because otherwise it's 7 and 7. Then we're calling it Exploration, because it's the 3 cards that grab lands from our deck, because we're playing all 15 Triomes. Scratching my back. Oh, ooh, boy. Hoof. Then we have removal that didn't get a funny name. More Than Meets the Eye for the other cards from the secret layer. Then we call this icons because it's... Well, actually, you also call them like weird simulacrums because they're the non-legendary versions of the leaders. And then we got 6 humans. So we got Faramir, Prince of Ithilien. I guess I probably should just read this because I didn't do it when I put it in the other deck. At the beginning of your end step, choose an opponent. At the beginning of that player's next end step, you draw a card if they didn't attack you that turn. Otherwise, you get 3 humans. Aragorn the Unifier. When you cast a white spell, you get a human. When you cast a blue spell, you scry 2. That's look at the top 2 cards, put them back in any order, and either one or both or none of them you can put at the bottom of your library instead. Red spell, Lightning Bolt. Green spell, better Giant Growth. And then our 31 other lands I called the Final Frontier because, you know, space. Let's see. And then I put this in Solidarity because it's Leyline to the Guild Pact. If it's in your opening hand, you can just put it into play for free, which is nice because this thing costs. It is interesting that it costs 4 mana and has all 5 colors, but because it's the Guild Pack, it has the Selesnian Guild, the Simic Guild, the Golgari Guild, and weirdly enough, the Gruul Guild, even though they're like anarchists. Each non-land permanent you control is all colors, so that turns everything that we have into a multicolored thing. And then all lands you control are every basic land type. That part, or in addition to their other types, that part is less important. But a lot of these like cost life to give us mana, so having this out gets around that. But yeah, all of these at minimum create 3 mana, except for this one. This is Academy Ruins. This is the super expensive one because this one like felt the most. Oh no, that's City of Brass. Never mind. What am I talking about? But I did the most expensive City of Brass because it felt the most Transformers-y. Yeah, don't listen to me sometimes. There's the Academy Ruins. It's down there. Then we have 7 Spacecraft. We'll go through these really quick. Extinguisher Battleship destroys a non-creature permanent when it enters, and then deals 4 damage to each creature, which I always forget that part. Like, that can blow ourselves out. But, you know, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. And then if you get 5 power on it, which is funny, it's so cheap, but it's an 8 mana thing that might blow up all of your ability to station it, but it's a flying trample 10/10, so that is awesome. The Pinnacle Kill Ship deals 10 damage to up to 1 target creature when it enters, and it's a flying 7/7 when you get 7 power through it. Rescue Skiff, that gets a thing back from our target creature enchantment from our graveyard back to the battlefield, and it's a flying 7/6. Dawnsire, of course, to do 100 damage to target creature or planeswalker when you attack, and it's a flying 20/20 if you manage to get all 20 onto it. Earthros, where we can draw a card when we cast artifact spells, and then this thing is bigger for each artifact we control. This makes our legendary creatures indestructible if they're tapped. It also tutors for a legendary creature. Then the In Spirit flagship vessel, we just had that in the other one as well. This puts +1/+1 counters on stuff, or charge counters, and then makes all of our other artifacts hexproof and indestructible, which really helps against the Extinguisher Battleship if we get this out and get it up to 8 power quick. Which is possible because this thing's, even though it's 3 colors, it's only mana value 3. Oh, and you only need 1 power on it to do the thing. I did not finish this whole section, did I? Because we did Aragorn and then I moved on. The Hero of Light, that's the one where when we attack, we get some humans. They're also attacking, so they might not make it to our next turn, but you know. Faramir, this gets us humans if we're the Monarch. This gets us a human if we've drawn our second card a turn. This makes it to where people who've cast a non-artifact spell can't cast additional non-artifact spells on their turn. That's always nice. I was saving this section. Oh no, this section is last, huh? So we have GoBots, which once upon a time was a competing toy line that got folded into Hasbro when Hasbro bought Tonka. I think GoBots also might have had the Hydrox problem because I think they came out before Transformers but weren't as good. Although I've had Hydrox and I don't think they're any worse of a cookie than Oreo, they just have a worse name. But that's what why this section got called GoBots, because they're not the Transformers, but they're still robots even if they don't transform. But that's neither here nor there. And also, like, the Duplo Transformers, I think, also got called the GoBots. But Mycosynth Golem, affinity for artifacts. Artifact creatures have affinity for artifacts. Omega Heartless Evolution. Oh, and these are all robots, by the way. Every creature in this deck is a robot, except for the 6 humans. It has Wave Cannon. When Omega enters, for each opponent, tap up to 1 target non-land permanent that opponent controls. Then put X stun counters on it, on each of those permanents, and you gain X life, where X is the number of non-basic lands you control. There are only 5 basic lands in this deck. And they're only in this deck for the same reason why I put basic lands in any 5-color deck. Because it's a theme to the deck. Like, I don't know if it'll have come out by the time I post this, but I made SpongeBob SquarePants Joe to the Unifier, and it has one of each basic land in it. Although generally that's probably a good idea. Like, you should have one of each basic land in your 5-color deck, just in case someone destroys one of your basic lands, but then the effect allows you to get a basic. So you should at least have some potential hits. But anyway, I have the 5 Cybertron basics. Although this looks like the Junk Planet. Anyway, Voyager Quick Welder, artifact spells are cheaper. Artifact spells are cheaper. Artifact spells are cheaper. Artifact spells are cheaper. And I think that's everything in here. Yep. I don't have, like, my only mass removal is Windgrace Judgment, but that's because I decided all of my removal will target permanents specifically. Except for, like, on the spacecraft, because those were, like, the last 7 cards I added to the deck, because I thought, like, you know, may as well. So part of me feels like, since it's such a gimmick deck, that it's like the spirit of bracket 1, but I do think it's bracket 2 just because the deck does try to work together in some manner. But I do like it overall. Like, it's not like there's a complete lack of synergy between the Transformers either. So this one's called Technically Edible. Oh, I'm thirsty. I'm also mildly hungry, but I shouldn't be. But I'm going to drink some water. For those of you who watch my content and are actually familiar with Magic the Gathering, you are not going to see anything surprising in this deck, I don't think. And if you've watched a lot of my content, you'll be even less surprised than the people who might not have seen any other video of mine and yet somehow clicked on this. because I just really went for the obvious. So we have Ragost, Deft Gastronaut, red white for a 2/2 lobster citizen, one of the best type lines ever. He's just a guy. And I also went for a different joke with my deck name, technically edible, instead of "Are you telling me a blah blah did this blah?" Artifacts you control are foods in addition to their other types and have the food text. Then we can pay 1 to sacrifice a food. Oh, pay 1, tap, sacrifice a food. Ragost deals 3 damage to each opponent, which is neat. That's like the whole point. So 3, 6, 9, 12. That's like a 12-turn clock once he's on the field. Give or take. At the beginning of each end step, if you've gained life... Oh, you don't even have to have gained 3. If you gain life this turn, you untap him. And that's each end step. So obviously you want to give him lifelink and just sacrifice food on everybody's turn, which you're going to need mana for. Then we have Teleportation Circle. Specifically... because we want to blink like artifacts or artifact creatures, because at the beginning of your end step, exile up to 1 target artifact or creature you control, then return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. This is, you can call this the transporter if you want. Then we have Surge Injure, Meal Ender, that gets bigger when we sacrifice, when artifacts go away, when our artifacts go away, and so it causes her to scry. There's also this part where she hates planeswalkers, but that's because Garruk's a big jerk. And she is also food, for what it's worth. So honestly, she's probably mad at, what's his name again? Ragost. Then we have Ristic Buddy. Whenever an opponent casts their first non-creature spell each turn, draw a card unless they pay X, where X is equal to S% of his power. Oh, wait, no, I gotta blow my nose. Hold on. There we go. Then we have Idol of Oblivion to draw cards based, as long as we've created artifacts or created tokens. We plan on creating tokens. Halia, Guided by the Light. I'm going to do the joke again. Guided by the light. Whenever Halia or another creature or artifact you control enters, you gain a life. At the beginning of your end step, draw a card if you've gained 3 or more life this turn. Hey, 3 is the magic number from sacrificing a food. And then Warp, so you can cast her for the Warp cost, but you exile her at the end of turn. It doesn't give her haste or anything. And then at a later turn, you can cast her for her normal mana cost. You only warp from hand. Mystic Forge to cast artifacts off the top of our deck. We can also exile the top card of our library if we don't like it. Ancient Den is an artifact land. So we do have some artifact lands in here that we can sacrifice in a pinch. Other than that, it is not an interesting set of lands, and not an interesting set of removal. I just had a half of a thought. I need to go check RC's deck really quick. Because I put a land card in... Yep, I put a land card in her deck thinking that I was going in a different direction. The Hall of Heliod's Generosity. Because I thought I was going to play more auras. Congratulations to anyone who caught that. I recorded this episode before that episode went up by like a lot. So we can take that out. then we'll just add in the Battlefield Forge. There we go. Where were we? So yeah, uninteresting land section. Which is not the section we should have gone to first. Oh no. I guess it was. Oh, and I stopped partially through, didn't I? Yes. Oh no. After Treasure Vault is Shadow Spear. Trample and lifelink. Because it gives the lifelink, yes. Oh, which reminds me, because I know I put the Basilisk collar in here. That gives Death Touch and lifelink. The Death Touch is a lot less important since his ability doesn't do damage to creatures. And then now we go to our uninteresting Mass Disruption selection. Liberator and Shimmermere to cast artifacts at instant speed. The Serema to make our commander indestructible as long as he's tapped. Also tutors. And then an uninteresting ramp section. Treasure map. Descent into Avernus is probably the most interesting thing we're going to see from me, because I normally don't do it, but I'm like, wait a minute, if we're trying to do more damage to our opponents, since we're doing 3 damage to our opponents on some turns, they should have lower life than us, so the Descent into Avernus damage should theoretically not hurt us as much. Then we have the Inspector. Reaver Cleaver. It's combat damage, so we have to attack with something, but it does give us treasures. That thing. Solemn, because we're in a 2-color deck. Ancient Copper Dragon, if we ever get that high. This gives our spells affinity for artifacts, even though it costs 6. So that I don't think this is that good of a card, because it is expensive to get him out. Then the Mirror Retriever, and the Junk Diver, and the Workshop Assistant. Then uninteresting single target removal section. Hangerback Walker, because when we sacrifice it, we get a bunch of tokens. Weapons Manufacturing, that's the least surprising thing in this deck. I am a big fan of it. Nuka-Cola Vending Machine to give us treasures when we sacrifice foods, that's worth it by itself. Stride Hanger for when we make an artifact token, we get a Thopter on top of it. Mondrak to get more tokens. And then if we have 2 more tap creatures, we get a Robot. Elspeth to get more tokens. Exalted Sudmorn to get more tokens. Wormcoil Engine because we can sacrifice it into tokens. The Triniform and the Triplicate Titan. So there we go with that. That's 100, right? Yep. Like, Bosch could have made it into this deck if we wanted to. Just because we have a bunch of expensive stuff. But the reason why both the Sammys are in here is just because they're from the same set, even if I don't think they're that good. But I do like the direction we went in. I don't think we went in a very surprising direction. Like, a lot of these cards, like the teleportation circle literally exists, and I just realized Spine of Ishsak is really good for this deck. Because we can sacrifice it and it comes back to our hand. Actually, I'm going to dump the Sarima and do a kind of a hope for the best, because our commander is inexpensive, so we're making a lot of treasures. Come on. If I am having a... No, I shouldn't be. It would have... the spine... The spine... There we go. Oh, it doesn't have a the in it. That's what messed me up. So while it is expensive, it goes back to our hand when we sacrifice it. Remembering that Bosch exists also kind of makes me want to put him in this deck too. We have so much ramp. Let's dump out the Felwar Stone. Although it's funny because you could confuse that for an egg. Was it just Bosch? Yep, Bosch the Iron Golem. I mean, he's super expensive, but like I said, we're making a lot of treasures. In theory. There we go. Technically edible. Then another unsurprising deck. This is Warp Speed. Because it's Tannuk, Steadfast second, 2 and 2 red for a 3/5 Kavu pilot. Other creatures you control have haste. The most important line of text on this thing, because the other ability would be rat garbage without it. Artifact cards and red creature cards in your hand have warp, so you can pay 2 and a red to cast them from your hand. And then they exile at the beginning of the next end step, and then you can cast them for their normal cost later. So, be prepared to be unsurprised. So Conjurer's Closet, at the beginning of your end step, you may exile target creature you control, then return it to the battlefield under your control. That resets it, so we're using the transporter to keep it from having to warp out. So that's cheating. That is cheating a creature and being able to keep it. Passionate Archaeologist. So it says whenever you cast a spell from exile, so that's the second time around. Our commander will damage equal to that spell's mana value to target opponent. This is anywhere other than our hand. So this is basically for when we're warping stuff back in for its original mana cost. This gives us the first thing we cast from exile, Cascade. This deals damage. This copies it, but if it's a permanent, it's hasted but sacrificed at the end of the turn. Hold on. Don't know why that itches. Flaming Tyrannosaurus. It deals damage and gets bigger. She is just an additional enabler of that doing stuff from exile or not from hand, because the second part doesn't care about the battlefield. So she has haste, and when she attacks, we exile the top card of our library and we can play that card this turn. We got to be careful with that, because if we can't cast it, it's gone forever. Whenever one or more cards are put into exile from your library and or graveyard, she gets a +1/+1 counter. Trumpeting Carnosaur discovers. I believe discover counts as casting. This one doesn't explain what Discover is, but I'm fairly certain it counts as casting. So that's another thing that... oh, and this has Cascade. So these are enabling the casting from anywhere other than our hand. So that's just like additional things to deal with these 6. Then Karlach gives us additional combats. Blast Furnace Hellkite gives creatures attacking our opponents double strike. That's just neat. Bygone Colossus, it's just a 9/9. That has its own warp cost. That's exactly the same. That is effectively exactly the same as the warp cost from our commander. But it doesn't have native haste. The Bygone Colossus, like, if you're just looking at its face value, its purpose is that you warp it in for 3, tap it to station something for 9, and then it goes away, maybe forever. Colossus of Sardia, it doesn't attack during our untap step, but, you know, it's a trampling 9/9 when we warp it in, and we might never bring it back, let's be honest. Ancient Soul Idol, it's a 12/12 with trample. Darksteel and Blightsteel, you know, because that's funny to do on turn 5 or sooner. Probably not sooner. This is mono red, so that's funny to do on turn 5. Well, maybe sooner because we do have mana rocks coming up. Command Beacon, because I needed one more non-basic to put in this deck, so we can sacrifice this to put. So if our commanders died multiple times, we can put it into our hand to at least cast it from our hand once. Because let's be honest, people will probably hate on our commander just a tiny bit. Lotus Field, that's sort of rampy. Then we have 15 of this mountain, 5 of this mountain, and 10 of that mountain. Then the Myriad Landscape to grab mountains. Mana equal to Devotion. Make something unblockable. I mean, may as well. Gives the legendary first strike just in case we're attacking with our commander. Turns every mountain after the 5th into a lightning bolt. Shattering Spree, Vandal Blast, Mizium Mortars, Delayed Blast Fireball, Planetary Annihilation. It has been ruled that this is not mass land destruction, so that's cool. Why is it not land denial? Because it leaves you with 6. So it costs 5 mana. Each player chooses 6 lands they control, then sacrifices the rest. So it only punishes the person who is ramping. And even then, it only brings them back down to parity. So it's like, I'm not really hurting you, but I'm like, that nonsense has got to end. And then it deals 6 damage to each creature, which is strong enough to get rid of our commander because he's only a 3/5. He is almost strong enough to live through that. Normally, I don't do these kinds of wipes, as you might have noticed, but, hold on, scratching an itch, but a lot of our stuff might be in exile when we want to cast this. Ultimate Magic Meteor, this is space themed, and it's like the same reason. 7 damage to each creature. If this spell was cast from exile, which it has a foretell, so you can. For each opponent, choose an artifact or land and destroy it. Blasphemous Act does 13 to each creature. That will get rid of a lot of our creatures as well. But once again, it's like we're sending a lot of our stuff into exile. Oh, and then we have our standard Protect Our Commander. There's the Indestructible. We definitely want to get that or that on it. Or that. Or even Cauldra. The funny thing is that we can warp in Cauldra because it is an artifact. We wouldn't be able to afford the equip cost, so good thing it has living weapon. But that is the thing we can do. And we have Soul Ring, Arc Sig, Cold Steel Heart, Felwar Stone, Fire Diamond, Mind Stone, Ruby Medallion, the Iron Crag, Thought Vessel, Defiler of Instinct. As an additional cast or cost to cast red permanent spells, you may pay 2 life. Those spells cost 1 red less to cast if you've paid life this way. This effect reduces only the amount of red mana you pay. Whenever you cast a red permanent spell, this does 1 damage to any target. That's a good... This makes it also a good thing to put the... Oh, it's not in this deck, but if we had the... Basilisk Collar. Solemn Simulacrum, Goldspan Dragon are treasures, sacrifice for double. Ilharg the Razeboar. Whenever Ilharg the Razeboar attacks, you may put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped and attacking. Return it to your hand at the beginning of the next end step. When Ilharg the Razeboar dies or is put into exile, you can put it into your deck third from the top. So if we don't want to pay its warp cost, we can just put it back into our deck and draw it later. Neheb the Eternal, if he was in the command zone, people would hate this deck. But maybe if it's on the battlefield and we warp it out, Afflict 3, so if it's blocked, it deals 3 damage anyway. And at the beginning of your post-combat main phase, we get a red for each 1 life our opponent's lost this turn. That's very Megatron. Ancient Copper Dragon, Cavern Horde Dragon, Dawn Sire, of course. And yet I didn't put in Brash Taunter, I don't think. Terror of the Peaks. Balefire Dragon. When it deals combat damage to a player, it deals that much damage to each creature they control. That's funny as heck. Drakuseth deals a bunch of damage when it attacks. Meteor Golem destroys a thing. Cityscape Leveler. Because Warp still counts as casting, so this gets to destroy thing too. This also gets to destroy stuff. And Tannuk is strong enough to survive the 4 damage to everything. Myojin, because when I was looking for creatures to put, this was funny. When it enters the battle with an indestructible counter on it if you cast it from your hand. Warp is still casting. And then we can remove that indestructible counter because it's going to go away at the end of turn. It deals 7 damage to each up to 3 targets. That is great and funny. Portal to Phyrexia. We can warp it in, and sure, we don't get the upkeep trigger right away, but it will cause our opponents to each sacrifice 3 creatures. Blood Sun turns off all land abilities that aren't mana abilities. Whenever a dragon we control attacks, we get more dragons. That's a great thing to get on an early turn, because now we have this 6/6 flying dragon much sooner than we normally would. When it enters the battlefield, if we cast it, we get 2 copies. So even when this goes away, the 2 copies I'm fairly certain will stay around. Like, I should find a way to put in the Brash Taunter just because it goes with that Dawn Sire, and this is mono red. But I'm not going to mess with this deck any. I'm fine with how it is. There was something in here that I was like, oh, maybe this should go in the Boros food deck, but I already forgot what it was. Oh, it was Crime Novelist. Because it's whenever you sacrifice an artifact, you get a red. But we won't always have something to use that red on. So we're not doing that, but that is an idea. Then we have Skeleton Warriors. it put a card into the deck. That's a thing that happens sometimes. Sometimes it will remove a card from the deck. Sometimes it'll put a card in the deck. So we have Xu-Ifit, Osteoharmonist. Osteo. That's bone. That has to be bone because there's the disease osteoporosis, and I think that is a bone. I don't know if it's a disease, but it's a bone condition. So this is another not going to surprise you with what's in the decks, and that's what is kind of funny about the 3 of the 4 Edge of Eternity decks that I'm showing you on this episode, is that other than the one that I decided that I made because I thought it was funny to have all of the Transformers in the same deck, the other 3 are like, no, this is some basic just put these cards in this deck kind of decks. So this costs 3 mana for a 2/3 human wizard. Sure, buddy. We tap to return target creature card from our graveyard to the battlefield. It is a skeleton in addition to its other types and has no abilities. Activate only as a sorcery, so we cannot sneak out a blocker. I just want to trick something. I guess that's fine. Corpses of the Lost. Skeletons we control have +1/+0 and haste. It would be nice if we could attack with our skeletons as soon as they came out into play. When it enters, we get a 2/2 black skeleton pirate. And at the beginning of our end step, if we descend to this turn, we may pay 1 life. If we do, this goes back to our hand. That's only if we want to cast it again to make more skeleton pirates. But descending is if a permanent card was put into our graveyard from anywhere, hand, battlefield, or library, are any of the wares that it could happen from. Death Baron makes our zombies and skeletons be bigger and have death touch. Death Priest of Miracle makes our skeletons, vampires, and zombies bigger. And then at the beginning of our end step, if a creature died this turn, we may pay 1 to get a skeleton. Skeleton Crew, it's a 3/3 skeleton pirate. Each other skeleton or pirate we have gets +1/+1. And then whenever 1 or more creature cards leave our graveyard, we get a skeleton. And then we can also pay 6 to return it from the graveyard to our battlefield tapped. So we get a second skeleton when we use our commander's ability. Gisa the Hellraiser has ward 2 and pay 2 life. Skeletons and zombies we control get bigger and have menace, so they're meaner. Whenever we commit a crime, which means targeting our opponents directly, targeting any permanent they control, or cards in their graveyard. Those are all crimes. We get a zombie rogue once a turn. But it makes our skeletons bigger, so that's the important part. Gary, Merchant of Alphabet. When it enters, each opponent loses X, where X is our devotional black, and we gain the life lost this way. This is just a basic, hey, let's see how many if we can take anybody out. You only put it in your mono black decks. Corrupted Conviction, we can sacrifice a creature to draw 2 cards. Village Rights, we can sacrifice a creature to draw 2 cards. Bushmeat Poacher, we can sacrifice a creature to gain life equal to its toughness and then also draw a card. We can sacrifice a creature to draw X cards where X was its power. Death's Shadow, it's a 13/13 for 1, but it gets -X, where X is our life total. Gee, that's an annoying ability. It'd be great if it didn't have that ability, huh? Phyrexian Dreadnought, it's a 12/12 with trample for 1. But when it enters, we have to sacrifice it if we don't sacrifice other creatures with total power of 12 or more. Boy, other than trample, I wish we could get rid of that ability. Wouldn't that be neat? Eater of Days, it has flying trample, it only costs 4. But when it enters, we skip 2 turns. Man, that's horrible. If there was only a way to get rid of those abilities, I would trade away flying and trample to not skip any turns. Leveler, it costs 5 and it's a 10/10. When it comes into play, we remove our library from the game. That is wild. I would love to get rid of that ability. Yargle, Glutton of Urborg, doesn't have any abilities. Zathrid Demon, Flying Trample. At the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice a creature other than Zathrid Demon. Then each opponent loses life equal to the sacrificed creature's power. If you can't sacrifice a creature, you tap this and you lose 7 life. Well, that has cool abilities. And it makes our opponents lose life when we sacrifice, say, something that's a 12/12 or a 13/13. Just saying. Hold on, scratching an itch in a place that's mildly hard to reach. Not where you're thinking. It's actually the outside leg. Like, you know how the inside leg super easy to reach, but the outside leg mildly harder to reach. Then we have the Colossus of Akros. It has Defender and Indestructible. And Monstrosity, so if you pay another 10, it becomes a 20/20 Indestructible that loses Defender. Well, I guess it keeps Defender. It's just going to attack as though it didn't have it. But if you get rid of those abilities, it doesn't have Defender, and it just stays a 10/10. You can't make it monstrous, but that's fine. Bygone Colossus, it's a 9/9. Colossus Asardia doesn't untap during its untap step, but it has Trample. I would trade away Trample to have it untap normally. Ancient Soul Nibal is a 12/12. Metalwork Colossus is a 10/10. Bojukabog, because we're in mono black. Myriad Landscape. Nykthos. Susur Secundi, Void Altar. We can sacrifice a creature to draw cards equal to its power. Then we have 15 of this swamp, 5 of this swamp, and 10 of this swamp. Thespian Stage. It can become a copy of a target land, but still maintain the ability to copy lands. Ugh. 3 Tree City to add mana equal to the number of creatures of the same type. Vesuva comes into play as a copy of a land. Then good old Shadow Spear. Good old Crippling Fear. Good old Kindred Dominance. Mirror Shield. Swiftfoot Boots. Champion Helm. Darksteel Plate. Mithril Coat. Hammer of Nizan. You know, because our commander is kind of important. We want to protect them. Soul Ring. Arsig. Charcoal Diamond. Cold Steel Heart. Felwar Stone. Jet Medallion. Mind Stone. The Iron Crag. We do have the Soul Stone. There's a lot of stuff in this deck that aren't worth pulling back naturally. But there are other things we would want to pull back. Thought Vessel. Liliana of the Dark Realms, because she can make sure we hit our swamp drops. Solum. Defile. A card I really need to remember exists, so I'm glad it's in here. It gives -1/-1 equal to the number of swamps we control to target creature. Tragic Slip. A target creature will get -1 until end turn, unless a creature died this turn, then it gets -13/-13. Bitter Triumph. We get an alternate cost to discard a card. We can discard one of those stupid creatures that we don't want to cast. Consuming Corruption. Deals X damage to target creature or planeswalker and you gain X life, where X is the number of swamps you control. Another card you need to remember when you're playing mono black. Go for the Throat. Grasp of Darkness. A card I sometimes forget. -4/-4 is decent. Heartless Axe, Infernal Grasp, Vane's Treachery. We can sacrifice an artifact or creature, which is fine for us. It'll give -2/-2, which is boo for that mana cost. But if it's kicked, they get -6/-6. This is the same thing, but it's one worse. It's -5/-5, and we can't sacrifice artifacts to it, so it is basically worse than Vane's Treachery. So this is some active power creep, and it's not even that long because this is this is original Dominaria. Archenemy's Charm with all of those modes. Good old Overkill, Withering Torment, Baleful Mastery, Drag to the Underworld. Dawn Zyre, because why not? Especially since we have so many big creatures, we might actually make this thing a 20/20. Ghoul-Caller Gisa, so we can make a bunch of zombies. Entomb to search our library for a card and just put it directly into the graveyard. This is the same thing, but we can do to 3. This can do it each turn. And then there's this nonsense about instants and sorceries that don't matter for this deck. So yeah, there's that. I'm a fan. We're going to go up here. We're going to optimize the printings of everything besides our basics. So not you, not you, and not you, but everything else, which was just those cards, interestingly enough. So that was all of that. So we can put all 4 of these decks into this folder now. As of this recording, I have not posted anything to where these names are important. This is stuff that's still in the future. I don't know what the future brings specifically, because I don't know what order I'm going to post these videos in after a certain point. Other than, like, if they're in the same group, then they're numbered. But see you next week.